Okay, so I guess we'd be looking for a motion to find the application complete.
I know one item, and I've missed a few meetings, so I'm willing to concede maybe this has been addressed, but we did talk about the fire chief doing a walkthrough and approving. Do we know if that happened?
Yep.
It did? Okay.
So fire chief has done a walkthrough.
Okay,
I have an email from him corresponding. Seems like everything's okay at this point.
okay,
This is application completeness at this point.
okay.
They still have one more meeting. I know Evan, we requested some stuff for you if you want to kind of summarize the things you submitted for tonight. That'd be helpful for us.
Right. Well, of course, everything you mentioned. We also prepared the letters to all the city officials that have been sent out. Those letters also included a fire protection report written by our fire protection engineer that outlines the proposed process. And I know we had discussed at the last meeting having a presentation about essentially how these facilities work in a typical workflow. So I brought along one of my colleagues here. Eddie's on the line, so I think it'd be great if he could chime in and give a kind of a description of how this manufacturing process works. He's worked in many labs out here in California, so he's very familiar with the hands-on work of doing extraction. So I think it'd be great to chime in on that.
Eddie, you're on mute if you're talking. We cannot hear you. You're out there.
You there, Eddie? Eddie, are you okay?
Well, in the meantime, while Eddie wakes up, let's get Eddie. I mean, if the board have questions for the applicants?
I have no new questions.
And he's unmuted. Okay, I apologize. I was working through my app here. I apologize, guys. So what I was just going to say is, again, my name is Edward Waldron. I'm currently a lab director out here in a lab in Vegas. I've been at for about 5 years, but like Evan stated, I've worked in several labs and helped with several of these type of processes and applications. It's a very standard hydrocarbon extraction system that is proposed in the rated booths there. And I mean, essentially, if anybody's not familiar with the process, we're basically using butane as a hydrocarbon solvent in a closed system that is obviously rated for its use. And essentially, we're filling the system with liquid, petroleum gas solvent, which is 100% butane, and essentially extracting the biomass, pushing that solvent over through the biomass into a different collection vessel that is, again, is fully closed and rated. And essentially all of our butane is, distilled or evaporated out of the concentrate back into our solvent tank in the closed system. And essentially the system is pretty much in a vacuum when we open it up to remove any of the oil. Obviously, that's all done in a rated area as per the plans. But it's a pretty basic system. If anybody needs any more clarification on specific processes, but essentially we're taking raw LPG gas from those tanks. We're filling the systems. It stays in that system wholly contained in the rated booth, and then essentially we're just performing the extraction where, again, it's being pushed over through the biomass, recovered, and then prior to obviously removing or taking out of the concentrate out of that system. It's all of the butane is probably about 99% removed, minus what you're going to do. There's always a little residual purging for residual solvents that's done outside of that process in a heated vacuum oven. But for the most part, about 99% of the solvents are completely evacuated from your oil before you're removing them from the system and then moving on to your further post-processing.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
So tonight would be finding the application complete and then scheduling the public hearing, and probably want to do a site walk to check out the cultivation facility or check out where the site, if that's something that you guys wanted to do.
I do have one question basically on this system. So as it goes through that system and we have and the system is open and there was minor gas emissions or something, are there any noxious fumes that are emitted during this process that get out of that building or into the open air?
No, absolutely not. Like I said, when we remove the oil or the concentrated cannabis from that system, it's essentially in a vacuum. So to answer your question, no. If there are any residual butane, fumes, it's going to be wholly contained within the rated booth there, and it will be completely evacuated before literally anybody comes in or out of that room by the flow rate of how we have the evacuation fans on those booths. So if there was any butane entered into that room, it would stay within the booth. It would be evacuated, and then if it if for whatever reason, if it went above a level where it's going to potentially be a hazard, there are sensors that will trigger additional exhaust fans to turn on, and it will notify staff to exit that area, which is essentially that contained booth. That's kind of, I don't want to say worst case scenario, but they're designed for that. So if there was, for whatever reason, additional fumes or solvents that were present in that booth specifically, the system and the sensors will do their job and notify the people that are in there if there is a higher level. But essentially, any gas or noxious fumes from the butane or other hydrocarbon solvents that do make it out of the system when you're taking out the concentrated cannabis will be evacuated and contained just to that fire-rated booth.
How about a cannabis odor that's being emitted from the building? Any of that?
The odor, I apologize. The odors, you definitely are going to be smelling cannabis in that room, but it's not something that is hazardous, or it's not going to be chemicals or any additional type of flammable solvents or other, like you said, noxious chemicals. That really the only thing we're dealing with is cannabis and butane in there, and of course it is going to smell like the biomass you're extracting. But that's not something that is hazardous to either employees working in that area. For the most part, in that contained booth, like I said, a lot of those kind of smells will be evacuated. But every cannabis facility I've been in, you smell the cannabis. I mean, there's obviously mitigation things that are in place to help with the smell, especially outside of the building. But as far as inside, you will definitely be smelling with the cannabis, essentially the aromatics and the terpenes from the flavonoids of the actual biomass, but no additional harmful chemicals or solvents would make it out of that rated booth.
So let me chime in on that one quick. So as part of the mechanical design, we include a carbon filter attached to the exhaust fan. So that will filter out any of those potential smells that would be coming out in the exhaust from the booth.
Correct.
Yeah, I saw the schematic diagram and it shows that big horseshoe exhaust coming out of the building, and I'm just wondering what's coming out of there and is that going to be, a big time cannabis smell for that area?
I would say no, yeah, Evan suggested they're having a carbon filtration that essentially scrubs your air prior to, as it's being evacuated from the booth, but before it actually enters the atmosphere of the exterior of the building. So, and those type of carbon filters or charcoal filters are pretty standard to, scrub the air and ensure that those smells are not evacuating the building and, becoming a nuisance potentially.
We also have a pretty strict odor control policy here in Berwick. So even if there was odors coming out of the building, we would take care of that right away.
There you go.
And I assume there's an initial inspection with the Office of Marijuana Policy to make sure everything's installed correctly. As part of the license, are there ongoing inspections, annual inspections or biannual inspections? Because it sounds like it's a sophisticated process. So what happens if a meter goes out or a fan goes out?
Well, so one thing to keep in mind is the way that the engineer peer review is written for this boost system. When we commission the booth initially, we'll have the fire protection engineer that wrote the report come out and certify that the system has been properly installed and that all the sensors are dialed in, that the fans are properly calibrated for both the typical operating speed as well as the purge emergency operating speed. As far as intermittent inspections and ongoing safety measures, we will have a battery backup system on the booth control panel itself. So, for example, in the case of a power loss, that will affect the booth's ability to evacuate any solvent saturated air. So there is a series of systems in place that ensure that, loss of power doesn't negatively affect the booth's capability. So.
Ron's raising his hand.
And I just wanted to quickly add that even with, like Evan was mentioning, that there are kind of preventative maintenance steps that you can also take on these sensors to routinely calibrate them and ensure that they're in good working order, et cetera. So that's something that will be incorporated into the, just the normal SOPs for operations on either, monthly, quarterly basis, so on and so forth.
Ron, did you have something to add? Or did you accidentally raise it?
I was just going to reiterate what Evan had said, that would be part of the SOP for the process, is to check those systems and make sure that they're in working order. There is an inspection from the state as we move through this. But I believe once the system is certified, that's it. It's up to the operator to stay in compliance, but I could be wrong, so.
They would do periodic inspections, but there's no annual, biannual. It's just whenever they feel like inspecting it, basically.
That's fine. That's fine.
Unless someone calls to complain, that's usually,
Yeah.
that's.
I mean, we may consider, between Jen and I, we'll talk about maybe we want to see an inspection done every year, or just something that you're certified, the system's all good, or this is how we maintain the system, just to have a level of surety, just to protect our, our fire department. That's my main concern.
And I would just like to add to that, going back to what Evan has stated on the SOPs. I think those are all logs and routine preventive maintenance logs and manuals that the team will have in place for the local fire department, even if they have to have those semi or annual inspections. Again, I think that'll incorporate in their SOPs along with the fire engineer to make sure that those preventive maintenance items and steps are being taken with regard to the booth and making sure that sensors are calibrated. I believe that's all going to be incorporated into their SOPs. So when those inspections do happen, they have all of those records and documents showing what was done to, essentially maintenance and keep the system up and running.
Great.
Does Jen have anything to add?
Yeah, I just want to add a couple things. one thing I would like to see happen is when they do their inspection and they're hooking everything up, I would like them to invite Chief Plant out so he can see how it works, just in case he gets called to a fire call, so that he can educate his employees. And another thing that he's been asking for on job sites lately, which makes sense for us to have in our file too, is a blank layout of the building that shows where the fire alarm system is and the smoke detectors are in the building. So if we can just get a quick copy of that, it can be a blank copy. You don't have to really, map out the whole building, just those few things. So we can give it to Dennis, so we don't have to ask for it later. And then James and I can throw it in the file, just in case.
Nice.
Cool.
Yep. Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve. Is that where we're going with this?
Yep. To
All
find
right.
the application complete. Yep.
All right. So I might start a motion that I found it complete.
I'll second.
Okay. Further discussion? No? Think we're good? All right. Roll call. Jerry?
Yes.
I say yes. Allison?
Yep.
Bill?
Yes.
And then Paul?
Yes,
Okay. There we go. Then we should schedule the public hearing for, I'll have
May 20th.
May 20th. And then let's plan for a site walk. Is it going to be on the 20th?
Yep,
Okay, for 5 o'clock?
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock.
Evan, we'll see you at the sidewalk. We'll fly you over. All right,
Okay.
thank
Okay.
you.
Now, well, back
20th.
to new old business. Conditional use application, salon, spa, gym, yoga, recreational facility, educational facility, existing use, functional hall, J. Everly Salon and Wellness. So I'll let James take care of this.
Sure, we had a sidewalk earlier today. One of the small things, we just had a question on if the stormwater pond was functioning. That's something we can take care of. The town will be inspecting these across town, so that's something we'll score up at that time. Chelsea said that she touched base with DOT and she'll provide the updated DOT entrance permit to the file, and that's a condition of approval. And then one new condition of approval was added to inform the state fire marshal of the change of use and to submit any approvals to the file. And I think that covers it. Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to be looking for a motion to approve the application.
I'll make a motion to approve the application.
I'll second.
Okay, further discussion? No? All right, roll call. Jerry?
Yes.
Okay, I vote yes. Allison?
Yes.
Yes.
And then Paul?
yes.
All right, there we go. We found the application complete and approved.
Next is the findings of fact.
All right.
Findings of fact. A lot of the stuff for the findings of fact, a lot of times sites already built out. There's no site work. The building's already built. They're just doing interior construction, so a lot of the findings are not applicable.
Okay.
It's just the actually vote for on the conditions of approval as well. The two conditions of approval and then the findings of fact.
Okay. All right, so we're going to need a motion for the conditions of approval.
I'll make a motion to approve the conditions of approval.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay. Further discussion? All set? All right, roll call. Jerry?
Yes.
Okay, I'll vote yes. Allison?
Yep.
Yes.
And then Paul?
Yes,
Okay. And then the findings of fact?
Yep.
I will make a motion to approve the findings of fact.
I'll second that.
All right, further discussion? No? All right, roll call. Jerry?
Yes.
All right, I vote yes. Allison?
Yep.
Yes.
And then Paul?
yes.
All right, so findings of fact are approved. And that's that for that, right?
That's it.
Okay, so now we're going to open up to the public comment again. Is there anyone online?
Nope.
Okay, any informational items? Does anyone have any information they'd
Good.
like to?
Town is involved with a pretty high-level study with, funded by the Department of Defense, looking at housing opportunities for shipyard employees and transportation to the shipyard. This involves regional planners. Susan Collins' office was in these meetings, Angus King, all the way through to town managers. The town of Berwick sends the third most employees from Berwick to the shipyard. So we're kind of tagging along in this major study, and we're gonna have a panel of experts here next Friday. And we have a panel of local Berwick reps. And it's gonna be cool to be part of that study to look at potentially bus routes, anywhere from Sanford, connecting, maybe a bus route to Pratt Whitney could be part of that, and creating more convenient transportation to open up bus lines to Kittery, Portsmouth, not only for the shipyard, but other destinations. So it's really a start of a regional-wide effort to make public transit actually sustainable and viable. So it's exciting.
Nice. Anyone else have some info? No? Okay, then I guess the next is adjournment.
If there's no further issues from the esteemed Burgess meeting room in the depths of the Berwick Town Hall, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor?
All right.
All right, there we go. All right, good night, guys.
Thank you.
Right?